know, yeah. And I have to change it.
Oh my God, I keep moving.
Anyway.
So.
She got about 2 minutes.
Ron, you need to make me co-host on my other laptop.
Yeah.
Can you get this up on my?
Right. Exactly. So it's true.
Amy, do you want me to?
I'm good, thank you. Can you make me co-host, Ron? You're muted. Is it the boot camp one?
Yeah.
So, that was under. Yeah. Mom's very lovely. Yeah, and also for mom's coming home.
Our co-host.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I actually do know that, but I
So,
just know Michelle was from.
Once you share. I am on the.
Oh, yeah. It's very short. Yeah.
Okay.
And now I think
Let people in now.
Okay, we gotta start, I'm sorry, we gotta start, I'm so sorry. Okay, let's say your name, okay, yes.
I think your audio's on.
Is that better? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Ron, are we good to go?
Ron?
You should be, I don't know why you sound a little muffled.
Does it sound less muffled now?
Speak louder.
Okay. And who's the gentleman up there?
Ron.
That's Ron there?
Oh, no, Steve.
Oh, hi, Steve. Oh, I'm Steve.
Yes, yes. He could also be a rabbi, he's very Jewishly knowledgeable, so we could.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna start, everyone. I'm sure more people will drift in, given the time. Anyway, hello, everybody. So Dan, right?
Hello.
Hi, and so welcome, ladies and Dan.
Sherry. Hello.
Welcome, ladies and Dan. Yeah,
We're new members, so.
Yes, we met a couple weeks ago.
hi.
Yes.
All right, so, just to remind all of you, this is Steve, and Steve was with us before, and the person.
Anita's there too.
Anita, hi Anita. Is that this is the boot camp preparatory sessions for the High Holy Days. And we've been moving along very slowly, which is good. And I have the feeling next week is the last one, that I will not dare say get finished what I had planned to do, but that's good. Okay. Because all the questions that have had, hi, how are you? Hopefully something good to eat today. All the questions that you had were excellent, and I enjoyed that very much. As you said to me, you enjoy when I get sidetracked a little bit, okay? And that I think is what learning is all about. So to begin with, we offer our bracha for study. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei Torah. Amen.
Amen.
So it's always interesting how something good can come from something that might appear at first not to be so great. So I was looking forward, I brought my shofar from my congregation up north down here to Florida, and I was really all set for the High Holy Days, and then something happened and it fell off a shelf and the thing actually broke. The mouthpiece part actually just broke off, and there's no way it can be played anymore. And you can't glue it back on because you're gonna have too much air coming out.
You can buy one at the sister, but.
Anyway, I did go on, well, I thank you for the plug for Sisterhood, I'm sure. I did go on Amazon, which is almost as good as Sisterhood. I got this nice kosher Torah suit from
Oh,
Israel.
nice.
So anyway, as you might all know, it is a mitzvah to hear the shofar each day during Elul. I'm assuming that you davened already this morning. Everyone here did morning services, prayers, but you might not have heard the shofar, particularly if you prayed at home. So I'm going to try to sound the shofar for you. Say a prayer for me.
I'm shocked it broke. I was just in the Grand Canyon and we had a whole lecture about ram's horns because they fight with their horns and
This
I'm
part
shocked
here,
yours broke.
must have, I don't know.
That's
we have
because they
tile.
butt heads with each other all the time.
Well, this part here, we have tiled floors,
God,
and I have no idea.
part of them.
Anyway, it worked out well, because that sounded pretty good.
It's beautiful. And
Yeah,
great.
that sound, yes. That's very pretty also.
Very, yeah, shiny, very lovely, lovely, yeah.
They even give you a little carrying case. I actually looked with this little case like The Exorcist. You ever saw that movie carrying a little black bag into that house?
Yeah, man, what's up?
So here we go.
Yeah, I'm doing lunch and learn right now.
Ron, your mute's not muted.
Okay, and
Yeah, I had an issue that the live stream wasn't, I'm sorry.
Is there any way to make the print a little larger?
we're gonna go next slide anyway. This next slides are bigger. We're gonna go, how do I move down?
To the next slide.
Way down. We're already down like a lot of slides. More room to that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we, and to remind all of you, and for those who are new, I'm going through the various levels of study in our tradition, starting with Torah, Mishnah, Talmud, codes. We've gone through all of them. And by the way, there's an incredible book of learning. It's not easy to do. One of the great rabbis of all time, a great Kabbalist, Chaim Vital from the 16th century, a great student of the Ari, Isaac Luria, who truly transformed Judaism in so many ways, and particularly in the direction of Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, and metaphysics, as I would like to call it, is that he put together a text called Chok LeYisrael, the way of Israel. And what he did was for every single parasha of the year, and then every day of that week, he actually developed a course of study in which you read a section from the Torah of the week, that portion of the week, Mishnah, Talmud, the Shulchan Aruch, and then Musar, 2 selections, and Zohar every single day. And there was a street teaching, and by the way, the Lubavitcher Rabbi spoke about this. It is essential to study all of these levels of Judaism every day to be fully a grounded Jew. Well, this might be a bit much for any of you, but if you go to online, Chok LeYisrael, C-H-O-K, La, next word, L apostrophe, Yisrael, you'll go to the day, and it's in English, by the way, except the selection from the Zohar. So anyway, that's
Who wrote that?
You did.
Chaim Vital, V-I-T-A-L. Okay. So last week, where we ended was a selection regarding the high holy days from the Zohar. But this is going to force me, lovingly, to describe this diagram that you see here. The Zohar was written in the 1300s, and it was interesting. In ancient times, a person, a scholar, could write a text and attribute the text to someone else. Today, you'd be up the kazoo with lawsuits, okay? You'd never get away with it. But in those days, you could. And that actually is called pseudo-epigraphic literature, in which is a false attribution to somebody else. So most probably, much of the Zohar was written, but not all of it. And most probably, there was a group of rabbis getting together because there were definitely changes in styles. And in the Zohar, there are sub-books also. But the Zohar, much of it is attributed to a man, Rabbi Moshe de Leon in Spain in the 1300s. But he got away with attributing it to a rabbi who lived 1300 years before him, Shimon ben Yochai, one of the great Kabbalistic teachers of the Talmudic period. And he got away with it. No one questioned it. And everyone said, wow, this is Shimon ben Yochai's writing. And that's really great because that's why it's so holy and beautiful. The Zohar is a Kabbalistic interpretation of primarily the Torah. But it goes off into many other ways, to say the least. Anyway, a very quick class on Kabbalah. What you see here, you can describe them as 10 circles, starting from the top and moving left to right. Keter, Chachma Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Nesach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. The Kabbalistic understanding of all of existence is that there are an infinite number of these 10 sphirot that are in operation all the time in terms of bringing down, so to speak, the energy of the divine into the world in which we live. Now you might say, well, how is that even possible? What does that mean? Where is it? I don't see it. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you see atoms? Do you see electrons, neutrons? If you feel the electrons moving inside of you right now, I would say we gotta call the guys in the white jackets. Okay, I hope you don't. However, it is inside of your body, inside of this piece of wood, inside of this computer, inside everything, there is atomic structure. And there are all those I don't understand any of this what I'm talking about right now, but I read Time magazine, so I understand it. Okay. But the fact is nothing is static. The difference between a solid and a liquid and all that kind of stuff. I was terrible in science and math, but I have some understanding that there's differences in terms of electron movements within atoms. They flow in solids, less in liquids, the air, whatever. But the fact is, everything has motion to it. So why cannot we also say in the physical world, why can't it be in the metaphysical world? Underlying all of that is this. So the very top sphira, in Hebrew is sphira, and I came across recently one of my readings, described this as the managerial, metaphysical organization of all of existence. And I like that because the sphirot manage all of existence. Nothing happens as the energy moves below, and then guess what? We then send the energy above, we as human beings, in what we do, and particularly in the Jewish version of all of this, by the mitzvot we perform. We activate the energy to go up, which in Hebrew or Aramaic is called mayim nochrim, and the energy coming down is mayim dochmi. Masculine waters come down, feminine waters go up, has nothing to do with males and females, men and boys and girls, whatever, is talking about energy of a negative or a positive nature. So the very top sphera is Keter, that's totally spiritual energy coming down. As the spiritual energy comes down, the question that Isaac Luria raised was, how is that energy made manifest in our world? How can we explain it? How does it happen? Well, it has to go through various filters or managerial operations. So the next two are intellect. The next three are the emotional states. The next three are the physical states. And then the one down below is Malchut, which is where we are now. Also, and I know Rabbi Mace has spoken about this many times, the Shekinah, God's presence is related to the very lowest one. Okay, that's a very brief class on Kabbalah. So the question then becomes, which I'm going to now go back to the slide before this in a second, is on Rosh HaShanah, or just now, when I sounded that shofar, one could say, he sounded the shofar. One could say, kind of hurried, sounded pretty good. Okay. However, and I could walk away and say, fine. Whoever the Baal Tekiyot, the players of the shofar here at Temple Bethel, my synagogue, Temple Sinai, and Rosh Hashanah, they do this. And one could say, wow, that was really great. I was inspired. It was fantastic. But in a metaphysical, Kabbalistic view of existence, by blowing the shofar, something happens in the metaphysical worlds above, in the divine. And what's happening is the sound itself not only inspires us, but actually chases away the evil forces in the universe that are in the process of doing what in Rosh Hashanah, which we already learned in this class, and that is judging us. Now, of course, Dan could say in Musar that we're being judged all the time. We are. And by the way, we should always be judging ourselves. We should always be looking at ourselves and evaluating, and not one of my friends, she did Lashon Hara. She spoke badly about some, actually speaks badly about everybody. Yeah. And she said, well, it doesn't matter because I was young.
Still your friends?
Yeah, she says, I have 364 days until Yom Kippur next year, so I can do whatever I want to now. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Or some people say Tisha B'Av, you know. Ben?
So we were listening to a Musar talk this weekend, and
Can you speak up?
we were listening to a Musar talk this weekend, and the point came up on judgment that we're asking ourselves, are we realizing our full potential? And that's what the judgment is.
Yeah, well, the question is, we're always striving toward that, okay? Like I said, I throw these things out, I was really bad in math. But for some reason, something stuck in my head, which is called an asymptote. Don't ask me how to spell it, I don't understand asymptote. But does anyone know about asymptotes? Okay, if I understand, but if you have a graph, it's like this way in one thing, that way, I'm not even sign across, don't get concerned, okay? And anyway, an asymptote.
We're doing a plus.
Yes, exactly. Okay, an asymptote is a line that goes like this, and it keeps on then going along that y-axis, x, whatever it is, and it goes along and along and along and along, and into infinity, it keeps on going, but it never reaches the line. Okay, so there are some people who say that is what it relating to what Dan said in terms of perfection. We will always strive toward perfection, but we are only what? There's a German expression, also mentioned.
Of diminishing returns.
Right,
to achieving perfection.
We're only human beings, okay, with all of our foibles. As it says in the book of Psalms, no one is so righteous who has not sinned, okay? And therefore, the same thing, by the way, with the Messianic ideal, is that we're always reaching for the time of the Mashiach, the Messianic time, but we're always going toward it, but do we ever reach it? And the question is, can we ever reach it? Or is it always going to be a goal that we are striving for? Because the question is, when we reach it, then we've reached perfection. Is that possible as a human being?
Yeah.
Yes. What is your name?
So Sherry,
Sherry.
so then the question is it the Yetzer Hara that gets in the way?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, the evil inclination or the things that distress us, distract us. But guess what? There's the Yetzer Hara inside of us, but there's a lot of stuff going on outside of us from other people's Yetzer Hara in the world about us and the distractions and all those kind of things. Okay.
I just heard a teaching yesterday from Hartman Institute that the blowing of the shofar and the sound actually comes from pain. So it's almost like
That's not
it's not, no, you did fabulous, but like that Yetzer Hara is almost like, if we don't think of it as all separate, but it's all tied together, like, because it does come from pain. Isaac was always killed, his father, the ram died, like there is pain. So it's not like extricating out, it's almost all, which is very human. Like we're allowed to have it all, like take Rabbi Dan says, like this Play-Doh of it all.
Well, it's interesting because I just want to say, my wife was surprised when I ordered this, and she said, "Boy," she said, "I'm sorry," and it was so short. I'm turn this off. It was a shorter one. She likes the longer one.
Oh my God.
She likes the longer shofar, the envelope.
That's what we have. We have.
And she said, I said, "Why do you like that one?" She said, "Because the deeper sound. This is too harsh." And based upon what you said, this is what it should sound like. It should be a harsh, shrieking.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yes.
I just am reflecting, I like to use words that are more positive. So rather than judgment, I could use reflection. But the point is that I think knowing we're human and we're perfect also helps us from becoming complacent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have to, right. It's the same way as some people will say that, and this is not a class on belief in life after death, theologies and ways of looking at future existence, reincarnation, resurrection of the dead, etc. But in all my studies, it constantly says you might find comfort in the fact that a loved one will continue in another existence after the body ceases to function, we call death. But don't allow that to take away the pain of the death of a loved one. You should never lose that pain, because then guess what? You've lost a very essential part of being a human being. Okay, so let's go back to this then.
You wanna go back?
I'm gonna go back one slide. How do I go back? Okay, another one. One more. Up here?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, no, you were there. You look up there, 883.
okay, one more.
One more?
Yeah, okay. So here, the Zohar, and this is, I forget what section this was, what part of the Zohar. Notice what it talks about here very directly now, obviously about Rosh Hashanah. And remember, in the 7th month, we talked about that. Why is it the 7th month, not the first month of the year? On the first day of the month from Bamidbar 29:1, this is, as we have learned, the Rosh Hashanah is the day of judgment for the whole world. Stringent judgment on the first day and lenient judgment on the second day. Now, remember, of course, we talked about this last week. I'm not going to go through this again. And that is within Israel and Torah and Reform Judaism, we basically are focused on Rosh Hashanah only one day, whereas outside of Israel, it is 2 days until the coming of the Messiah, when you can actually make everything easier. But until before then, you can't make anything easier. You just have to make things more difficult. Okay. Interestingly enough, I came across, I was looking at this morning, there's an incredible book written by the Lubavitcher Rebbe's grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, Zalman of Liadi, and he wrote a book called the Tanya. And this is the 1700s. And in the Tanya, there are various sections also. One of them is called Igeret HaTeshuvah, the letters regarding Teshuvah, repentance. And I thought this is very interesting. It says here the following. It has been taught there are 3 types of atonement, and repentance accompanies each of them. So we understand that. But this is the thing that I found very interesting. If one failed to fulfill a positive commandment and repented, he's forgiven. So in other words, let's say a positive commandment would be, you shall observe the Sabbath day. If you failed in observing the Sabbath day, and obviously that's open to 1.5 billion interpretations, what does it mean to observe the Sabbath day? Simply by doing teshuvah, repenting and not doing and repairing that situation, that's all that's necessary. However, if one violated a prohibitive commandment, in other words, thou shalt not steal, and a person steals, then guess what? And repented, his repentance is tentative, and Yom Kippur atones. You need the next day, Yom Kippur, and fasting in order to overcome negative commandments. There are 613 mitzvot, commandments. 365 of them are written in the negative, and 240 of them are written in the positive. Okay, so therefore we've got a lot of work to do. So notice what's said here is that in a traditional mode, and of course, this book, remember, was written outside of Israel, in Spain. So the Zohar. So therefore, they observe 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. The first day is stringent. The second day is a little bit lenient on judgment. But guess what? We're still being judged. Now, I'm going to go through this next paragraph a little quickly, but I thought it was kind of interesting in terms of giving a sense of the role that the Sefirot, the managerial levels that I spoke about in that tree of life, in that diagram before. And while he is yet on the way, Yisrael takes advice from Rivka and do all of these rituals and all the prayers and prepare a shofar and sound it all in order to awaken mercy. So the key here, just let's not get involved in this. Yisrael and Rivka, Israel and Rebecca, they're not talking about those people. They're talking about certain operative parts of the system of the Sefirot that I talked about, I showed you before. It gets very complicated. These are called Partsufim, which are interconnections of the Sefirot. I'm not going to go there. But simply to focus on the fact is all the prayers and the shofar and the sound of the shofar awaken mercy. So when the person, the Baal Tekiah, sounds the shofar in Rosh Hashanah, it's simply not for us. He is awakening mercy in the divine system so that God will be what? Merciful to us. And we have already learned, and he brought him wine and he drank from Genesis. For he came from afar, from Bina, from that place where the wine is old. What he's talking about here is that the end, when you sound the shofar, you awaken a flow, you move a flow of energy from us to the worlds above, and then coming back down, it's going to go through, remember, probably don't, Keter, Chachma, wisdom, and the third sphera is Bina. Bina is understanding. So when you do that, all of a sudden it's going to send energy up, and guess what? There is the understanding of energy flowing back and forth, above and below and above. So as we sound that shofar, as we offer the prayers, you offer those prayers on Rosh HaShanah, you are going to awaken God's mercy from above, which goes first through understanding, and then moving down throughout the left hand, and after that, Isaac, who is the left column, blessed him with a number of blessings and removes an iniquities. In other words, I'm getting too complicated, I really shouldn't. The left side is the left side of sinning and doing the wrong stuff. And what has to happen is the understanding moves down to the left column and eventually comes all the way down to the bottom to us, awakening mercy and God's understanding and God's forgiveness. How does that happen? Is that the sins that we commit, which are on the left side of the tree, are balanced off by the right side, which is God's mercy and love. And that's what we want to awaken.
I was
Yes,
gonna say, the left side, is that the Gevurah side, the judgment side?
correct.
You want me to put that?
Okay, then I have one other question.
Mhm.
If, the left side, which one is, because I know all the fathers and Moses are all in here too. Each one has their own. Which one is Jacob and which one is Isaac? Is Isaac Bina?
Isaac is that, no,
I know there's one represent, like each one gets represented by someone.
okay, Isaac is, Abraham is Chesed,
Has
Isaac is Gevurah, and Tifereth is Jacob.
Okay, so I guess it was right, judgment was Isaac, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
But all I want to simply, and I know I've gotten too complicated probably already. But the idea here, and the reason why I share that with you, is notice everything we've looked at so far, Torah, Mishnah, Talmud, the code, everything is simply, what do you do? How do you do it? But what the Kabbalah then does is it brings a spiritual underpinning to every single thing that we do in life. Everything affects the divine. And thereby, this is called a kavanah, a spiritual intention. And I'm just going to throw out this other one, and then we're going to continue to the month of Elul that we're now in. On Friday night, you make Kiddush, right? Okay. Kiddush, by the way, by making the prayer Kiddush, you are moving the energy and awakening the energy in Tiferet, which is balance and harmony in the middle of that column. Oh, you have to do this
Just
one.
right there. There.
Okay, in the middle column, that pink one is Tiferet, okay? You're awakening, that's balance in the universe and yourselves. And by the way, for those of you who are into yoga, okay, these are the chakras. Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Chesed, Chachma, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut, my feet.
Wow.
Okay, so if you're into yoga, this can be related to that as well. Okay, and there's very much as the form of a human body you can put on there, male or female, and be able to do the same. So on Friday night, just by doing Kiddush alone, when you are aware that when you are doing Kiddush, you are awakening Tiferet and Chesed. You are exciting the kindness and love of the universe. But you also have to do one thing further. A Kiddush cup must be held in the right hand. Must be held in the right hand. And why? Because the right side on that column is what Chesed, that's mercy and God's love. And therefore, when you put the Kiddush cup in, now remember, we use what? Sweet wine to awaken the sweetness of existence. And thereby, by putting the sweet wine in the right hand, which is Chesed, the right side of the tree, we are awakening the kindness and love in the universe. So that everything below flows above and vice versa. Do you have some understanding of what I just described? Okay. In other words, yes, it is sufficient alone just to do a mitzvah. You just make Kiddush and you could say, I've done it. You can sound shofar and you can say, he did it or she did it. Okay, I heard it. By the way, the mitzvah to do shofar is not for the shofar sounding. The one making that sound. He does not fulfill a mitzvah by sounding the shofar. The mitzvah is lishmoa et ha-shofar. It's us hearing the shofar.
Wow.
Okay, and that's another whole story.
So you need people.
You need people, yeah. Yeah, well, I do it at home by myself and blast my wife out of the house. Which one's the other? So the fact is though, is that it is sufficient to just do the mitzvahs. But in the Kabbalistic understanding, when you do it with an intention, as I make Kiddush and I raise my right hand and I make a meditation in my mind, awakening Chokhmah and Bina, the intellectual parts of the divine. And I'm now saying that as I raise my right hand with the sweet wine, I'm awakening the spiritual energy forces of the universe for God's kindness and love. Okay. So now we're going to continue. How you doing
Keep
there?
talking,
Oh,
the power one, keep talking.
okay. So the next slide is going to be Elul. We are, of course, now about the 5th day of Elul, I guess it is, the 30 days before Rosh HaShanah, which we sort of talked about before. But I came across a very interesting teaching here when Rabbi brings that up about Elul. But maybe before that, I want to take it into another realm. And that is, what does all of this mean in terms of your preparation for the High Holy Days? It is really trying to understand whom God. Okay. Sure. There are people who come to High Holy Days to do what? Socialize. Okay. So, oh, I see old friends and that kind of thing. They're always called the High Holy Day Jews, the 2-day-a-year Jews, all right? Okay. They show up only in Rosh HaShanah and Yom Kippur. But in truth, if one is going to really be able to get the most out of these holy days, you need to come to understand who God is for ourselves and with all of life and humanity on some level. Because whom do we address more often throughout the services? God. God, okay? And what aspect of God? And this gets to a very complicated subject, of course, and getting off into a difficult part of what's called theology or belief in God. Theo meaning God, and ology meaning study of God. But Judaism, whether we agree with it or not, whether we like it or not, is based upon traditional Judaism, Torah, Talmud, all the way through, is based upon a system of reward and punishment. It is. And basically the model that, of course, is we can sit back against the latest. And the model is what? The model is what? Our relationship to a parent. And certainly 2,000 years ago, during Talmudic times, what was the model between a servant and a king? I mean, you can't avoid it, whether you accept this model or not, okay? But on the other hand, let me say, would it be so bad if our system was based on a relationship with God was based upon reward and punishment? After all, is it so bad? I mean, I don't think my mother, I once only, I think only once, I was such a good kid. I think once I said a 4-letter word. Yeah, and guess what my mother did? She really did this. She washed my mouth. That was so. Well, guess what? I never did it again. Okay, I never did it again. I said, yeah, for this and that, for that, a word. Oh, is this recorded? Oh my God. Mom, I love you. Mom, this is not the next world, but yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. So you said the model of Judaism is reward and punishment. Are you talking about the model of rabbinic Judaism?
Yes.
So that's what the rabbis set up.
That most definitely. It's
Where do we go?
Yeah.
The rabbis take over and they say, this is the way it should be, and these are the laws.
Yes, but as well, the Torah also, and the prophets also.
Right.
All of them are based upon that system, modeling after relationship with a parent, or in their case, of course, also with the king.
But all government is like that. All,
Yeah.
reward.
But now let's take this to another level then. And by the way, there was a large body of literature written from the 17th, 18th century, 19th century, even to early 20th century, what was called Christian polemics. And this was an attempt by many Christian scholars to show the differences between Judaism and Christianity, particularly at the expense of Judaism. And they would say Christianity's God, the God of Jesus, is a God of love, and the God of the Jews is a God of zapping everyone, punishing everyone, the wrathful God, the angry God, the God of war is always killing people and go to war and whatever. By the way, they kind of forgot about the Crusades, okay? But the fact is that first of all, yes, if you read the New Testament, you come away with a sense of the God of Jesus as being a God of love, most of the emphasis. But they forgot the fact is, guess what? Jesus' God was not the Father, Son, Holy Ghost, because they hadn't been thought of yet. Jesus' God was who? I don't know. God, same God as we have. Okay. Our God, yes, traditionally, and each one of us has to deal with this on our own. But the fact is that our God, our view of our God is one of reward and punishment. But guess what? It's not only about zapping people all the time. The essential part of Judaism is God is what? God is Rahmanu, merciful.
Yeah, right.
Merciful. And if you say that's not the case, then don't bother coming to temple on Rosh HaShanah and Kippur. You might as well stay home because it's meaningless. If you cannot accept the fact at all, then what is the whole thing all about, right? The Judaism's theology, whether we accept it or not personally, each one of us has to deal with this on our own, what God means to us. And there might be those of you in this room, or Anita, I guess it is streaming on there, zooming on, is that your view of God might be totally different, okay? My grandmother Paula, she's rest in peace, died at the age of 92, said to me, Steve, she didn't call me Rabbi, okay? She said, Steve, I want you to understand, I don't believe in God. I'm sorry to say that to you, you're a rabbi, but I don't believe in God. And I said, what do you mean, Grandma? She said, well, because her vision, she was born in 1890 something, and her vision of God was this overweight guy in a big white with a beard and sitting on this throne, just, you're bad, okay. I said, but Grandma, you really do believe in God, because she was really a very good person and a very sweet person, Grandma Paula. But the fact is that the key to all of these high holy days, this month of Elul, the shofar, everything, is based upon the Jewish God, who is a God who is merciful and forgiving. Otherwise, this whole thing makes no sense at all, right? And I think one of the prayers, which I'm going to look at in a few moments, so in Tana Toket, brings this to the fore, because you have that whole long list on Rosh HaShanah. It's written on Yom Kippur, it's sealed. Who's going to live? Who's going to die? Who's going to make more money this year? Who's going to lose the stock portfolio? Is going to go down to the bottom. All back and forth. And if you walk away with that, and as someone asked me last week, does Judaism believe in predestination? In other words, are we destined? You read that prayer until you get to what? That last sentence. But what? But tzedakah, tzedakah. Okay, all right. Avert the temper or avert the severe degree. Without that sentence, you would say there's absolutely no difference between Judaism and Calvinism. Calvinism believed in complete predestination of every human being's soul. What's going to happen to you in life was decided long before. Okay. However, that last sentence is the key to the beauty and power of Judaism. It gives us an opening of what? Hope. That no matter what life can seem to us, and I hope none of you ever experienced this kind of a moment in your life or experience, but certainly in my life, I'm sure in Rabbi's life as well, we've met people who say a black cloud hangs over my head. Everything is going wrong in my life. Everything is terrible. It's just really bad. Why? I don't deserve this. Okay. We both experienced, I'm sure, and I certainly did. I was a chaplain at Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in Manhattan for 30 years. And the experiences people would share, these moments where everything is just going wrong. And you have that feeling. But Judaism, with the belief that God is merciful, that opening, that guess what? The sun can shine again, even for the person who's living in total darkness. And by the way, the beautiful song, Lama Lama Azakani, why, oh God, have you abandoned me? Which, by the way, in the New Testament, is attributed to the words that Jesus supposedly did utter when he was on the cross thing. But the fact is, guess what? Is that it also says, out of the depths I cried out to you, because God picks us up in the lowest moments. And that's what this whole thing is based on. So we are now into the month of Elul, and let's see. Elul is the last month of the Jewish year and the final month prior to Rosh HaShanah. I came across sometimes I read too many things, I don't remember where I get them from in my head. But anyway, recently I read that Rosh HaShanah is the civil new year, and Nisan in the spring, which is the first month, remember the Hebrew ancient calendar year, is actually the religious year. This is the civil calendar now. This is when we change our calendar year, 5784 coming up. The Jewish New Year. This is a month in which to spiritually prepare for the high holiday season of reflection and repentance. By the way, I'm sorry, I should have actually gone through this. It should never, remember, this is not a holiday. It is a holy day. There are only 3 holidays, Chagim in Judaism, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Okay, this is a holy day. But notice I and Y are the same and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Elul is traditionally a time of introspection and personal stock taking, known in Hebrew as Cheshbon HaNefesh, literally the counting of the soul. And by the way, going back to Dan's comment before, or maybe Sherry's, and that is every single night before we go to sleep, we should do a Cheshbon HaNefesh. How do you do today? Would they do fully? Okay. How do I do today? Okay. And if I'm not, figure it out for the next day. But make sure you put it into a compartment and let it go. Because don't forget, you don't want to be up all night thinking about how miserable you were that day. By the way, and I'm hoping I'm going to end the program in a couple of minutes and do a meditation with you for the new year. And I will describe the meditation, but it's a great meditation regarding Cheshbon HaNefesh and moving on from the stuff, our negative stuff in life. Well, you'll see what it's about in a moment. Okay. This process is conducted in preparation for Rosh HaShanah, when Jewish tradition teaches all of humanity is called to account and a divine judgment is issued. The customs associated with Elul are all intended to help cultivate the proper mindset for this preparation. In other words, what is the Hebrew word for mindset, for mindfulness? Kavanah. It's all about kavanah. Most of us fail to live a kavanitic, I just made that word, a kavanitic. And why? Because most of us pay no attention to anything. Okay, we just go about our lives and we hope for the best. But guess what? Are we going to be maximized life? No. I remember one standing, I think it's probably high school, that's probably last week. Anyway, I had a combination lock. Okay, I'm sure I'm assuming maybe I'm projecting on to you, my Michigas. But anyway, I was in a rush. Okay, I belong to LA Fitness, so maybe I was in a rush to get out. So I left, right, oh my God, it doesn't open. I gotta get out of here. Okay. 4 or 5 times, I just keep on going past the numbers. Why? Because I wasn't practicing Kavanah. Okay, now I didn't say a prayer. Okay, I could have used a prayer. This is what I do. I said to myself, Steve, slow down. You're not doing what? You're not concentrating. And guess what? Okay, most of us fail to be living a life in Kavanah, of being a mindful life. Elul puts the brakes on. Rosh HaShanah puts the brakes on. Shabbat, you teach this all the time from the being the you and the other one for rabbis here, right? Puts the brakes on and says, I gotta do what? I gotta slow down. I have to stop living in la la land. I know it's a part of getting older. I understand that. I have so many friends right now, maybe some of you do as well, in their 80s and 90s, are constantly breaking things. They're constantly falling on their nose, they break their arms, their hands. There's so many people I know of right now who are falling. I understand it's a part of getting older, but guess what? As we get older, we have to be more mindful then, as best as we can. Yeah, as best as we can. It's scary. Okay. Perhaps the best known Elul tradition is the blowing of the shofar every weekday after morning services. We did that here. As on Rosh HaShanah, the daily shofar blasts are intended to rouse us from complacency and jolt us into repentance. So again, like I said before, notice what is lacking here, and I'm using this, I got this from my Jewish Learning website, because it's kind of non-denominational, and there's some interesting stuff here. But notice what that last comment says. The sounding of the shofar is to rouse us. And Maimonides, in his very famous statement, awake you from your slumbers. It's a part of it. Used to be the gates of repentance are all red high holiday prayer books, which, by the way, I love much more than this one. Okay. I understand this one.
You're being recorded.
I know.
I'm starting with my rabbi going on.
Oh, yeah. I love that one. Okay, anyway, is that now you know, because now you are many students of Kabbalah. That guess what? The sounding of the shofar just doesn't awake us, it awakens the forces of the universe. Judaism, Kabbalah is based upon the pebble effect. Every single thing I'm doing right now affects the entire universe and God. Because guess what? God is the universe. God is this table. God is this water, God is this computer, God is me, and God is all of you. Yeah, okay. It is also customary to recite Psalm 27. I believe, Rabbi, you did this a couple of weeks ago, right?
And we sent an email on
Right.
Monday with Chava Morel's Psalm 27, she's coming
Yeah,
over.
right, I'm doing that. So
It's
this
beautiful.
this
yes.
temple is right there on the forefront
Yeah,
of
Halo.
spirituality, you
Yeah.
guys, okay. And just notice
Sorry.
here, which speaks of the assurance of God's protection and includes a plea that God does not forsake his people, sorry about the his, during the month of Elul. So the fact is what? Is guess what? If you take this more than Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, more than simply a time to oh my God, look what she's wearing, look what he's wearing, why, boy, you look really much better than last year. Would you go to a spa? Would you have a facelift? Okay, if that's what you think this is all about, guess what? Stay home. I'm sorry, Rabbi, might as well stay home. Okay, what is it? It's about God. It's about a relationship to the divine. It's about a relationship with life. I mean, you could avoid it. You could sit here and just look around, and I know there are people who just watch people watching. You know, the place is full. It's great. Oh boy, look how she looks much better. Oh my, he's aging really bad. Okay, and you sit here and you don't even say the words. Just looking around and commenting about everyone. That's lashon hara, first of all. That's not good. So the fact is, notice this. If you take Psalm 27, which talks about God's protection, you have to ask yourself, what does it mean God protects me? Because guess what? That same person that said this prayer, God forbid, could leave this place, unfortunately, the way home be in a car accident. Did God not protect me? I do a lot of bicycling, Rabbi Mates knows, and people, I was on the road, in the streets here, and people say, isn't it dangerous? So I say, I do a lot of praying. It's actually very scary. So a couple of years ago on Long Island, I actually was hit by a car, and thank God I didn't break anything. And the person actually told the police officers that as she was coming down the street, which means she had to be going somewhere between 30 and 40 miles an hour, because the speed limit on the street is 30. She accelerated through the yellow and hit me on the red light. And I had no broken bones, no nothing.
And you went to do about this?
Yeah, I did about this.
He told me that.
I had
You were in your temple clothes?
He went
Yeah,
on the
I
hospital.
biked to the hospital. My wife met me and brought me the clothes to change.
He's so devoted.
I was on the way from, and actually I had 2 b'nai mitzvah that week and a wedding, a big wedding the next day. And I was a muscle relaxer, to say the least. That was a miracle. But the thing is, I posted on my Facebook page about the accident. And someone in that comment wrote back and said, well, I guess you weren't praying enough that day. And I wrote back to him and said, guess what? I was praying that day because I should have died. Actually, I did have an out-of-body experience where I saw my head hit the ground twice.
Oh, my God.
Because there's a period of time which I must have gone unconscious. Because I was riding my bike singing Shabbat Tzom to the way to temple. It was a gorgeous June day in Long Island. And the next moment, I'm looking up into the eyes of an EMT. So a period of time obviously passed. And I did see myself outside my body hitting my head twice. And actually, I shared this with someone later on who was an ER emergency room nurse, but also spiritually inclined like I am. And she said, God took your neshama from your body, your higher spiritual level from your body, and it actually saw itself, your body. And she said, that saved my life, because if my neshama remained in my body, I would have died. And she actually, and I probably would have had a brain bleed or something, and took that out. And then the reason why I woke up all of a sudden, because God restored the neshama back to me, because that's my operating system. That's your operating system. Okay, that's an offside. Okay. Some Jewish communities also begin reciting the penitential prayers known as Salichotat. The beginning of Elul. Salicha is singular, Salichot. Anyway, the beginning of Elul. Though the most common Ashkenazi custom, our Eastern European, is to recite them only the days immediately preceding Rosh Hashanah. So in other words, Salichot prayers are actually said every single day in a certain segment of our community. But actually, Salichot prayers of forgiveness are actually said every single day. They're part of the Shachri, the traditional morning service every day. Then.
So when you're in Israel, when you're in the grocery store, and the carts, and there's lots of people standing there, there's carts in front of you, and you want to get past them, you could say, Slicha b'vakasha.
Yeah, exactly.
I always thought that was excuse me.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Same root.
Forget
Legal law.
Same root.
To excuse,
Forgive me.
Yeah,
It's
same
the-
word.
but the same root,
Yeah.
legal law.
The way they say it.
Now, there are going to be various Torah readings on Rosh Hashanah. You have 2 days here, we have 2 days at Sinai. In my synagogue up north, we only had 1 day. Anyway, I thought this was interesting to read through only because what Rabbi Alan Liu here does in this book, this is real and you are completely unprepared. And I never read the book, however.
I have a couple.
Oh, but it's really great. But what he does is he gives a little explanation as to why these Torah readings were chosen. And obviously different synagogues do different ones, especially Reform, Conservative, Orthodox. But next paragraph, Parashat Re'eh, read at the beginning of Elul, begins with God enjoining the Jewish people thus, quote, see this day, Re'eh Natati Lefan, we read this a couple of weeks ago. This day I set before you blessing and curse, blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God. You're probably familiar with this, was just a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to go down to the bottom sentence. The first step in taking an account of one's life is to look, to see clearly the possibilities laid out in each moment and to choose the path of blessing. So in other words, what Rabbi Lou is pointing out is, understandably, every single Torah reading for the High Holy Days has a meaning and purpose. So this one is, before I set before you life and death, good and evil, life and death, choose life that you might live. The choices of life are before us. Rosh Hashanah is the moment to say, all right, I have choices now. Every moment there's a choice, actually, right? Yeah. Every moment there's a choice. A choice to speak to, there was a horrible car accident a couple of weeks, actually a couple of, I think the last 2 weeks on Long Island, there were 6 deaths due to car crashes. And in one of them, this guy was on fentanyl and alcohol, and actually he was going 120 miles an hour on a local street in Nassau County in Long Island, smashed into the back of this van where there was a man and his children, a 13-year-old and a 6-year-old, who were going for ice cream to celebrate his new job. And he actually hit with such force, he sent this Dodge Caravan flying in the air, actually flew in the air and of course crashed and they all died. And he had the ability to make those choices, taking the drugs and driving, or taking the drugs at all, and to go 120 miles an hour. I mean, you have to work really hard to push any vehicle that fast. It wasn't a Lamborghini or something. Choices that people make, okay, for good or for evil. That's what this is talking about. The next portion is Parashat 12, which actually was last week, which instructs the officers of the Jewish army to release from battle anyone who's built a home. There's a whole section there. I love it because it is just so, the Shoftim I love, first of all, because there's so many parts of it that could be perfect for today. Like judges not taking bribes, okay. And not being influenced, okay, I'm not going to go there. This is being recorded, I'm not going to get into that. However, the fact is that it goes back and looking around. I'm assuming most of you remember the Vietnam era and those who tried to get out of going into the draft. People cut off their ears, people went to Canada, and there were those within particularly the Christian and the Buddhist communities who applied for conscientious objection to get out of the armed services, okay? And in Christianity and Buddhism, you can pretty well get away with it. If you can actually convince a draft board that you are practicing Christian or Buddhist, you could probably get out because you lived a peaceful life and that was the philosophy. In Judaism, it was very difficult because, our people went to war a lot. We killed a lot. The Bible is a very nasty book. There's a lot of violence going on, so like Outlander. We had a lot of stuff going on in Israel those days, really brutal stuff. Okay, so it's very difficult to prove conscientious objection based upon a Jew. However, here it describes a person who has just built a new home, but hasn't a chance to dedicate it. He doesn't have to go into battle. A person who was just betrothed, married, and has not actually consummated the marriage is allowed to stay home with his wife and have children. And then one of the more interesting ones, if a person is fearful of heart, he should not be allowed to go into battle also, he can stay home. Okay, so that I just think this is so great. It's like having a draft board 2,000 years ago and saying all these people are disqualified from going into battle. Now, of course, you could say, well, realistically, is that possible? No one would go into battle. Oh, yeah, just built a house. Oh, I just got married. Oh, yeah, no, I don't want to go. Okay, whatever it was. But I just love it because the Torah is so real, and it makes me proud to be a Jew that they can be so modern in terms of understanding human psychology.
That line is beautiful. At a time of year when we contemplate our lives and our mortality, this serves as an invitation to consider what unfinished business is tearing at our hearts. That's
Yeah.
really beautiful.
Because this is the time, because God is giving us the chance before we go into the battle of our lives. Every moment, according to what we've shared already today, is we're going into battle with the way we need to figure out about life. There's stuff around us which is always tearing at us to take us away from our roots in God. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. So, Rabbi, you can turn this off. And have any of you done meditation before? Everyone, more or less? Okay. Okay, everyone's, okay. What I'm going to do is, we're going to do first, as a part of this, a little bit of relaxation meditation. And this is a meditation for taking care of the stuff, the negative stuff in our lives. What I'm going to do is we're going to relax the muscles of the body. I like to start, some of you have done meditation. One way is to go from the top bottom on up, from the feet up, I go from the head down. The other is going to be to relax. We're going to do nice, slow breathing in and out 3 times. And then I'm going to ask you to visualize a vault in a bank. Okay. And this is the vault of your life. And what you're going to do is you're going to take something that's bothering you right now, something that if there is something, maybe not, and that's good, put a smile on your face. But if there is something, open up one of the vault drawers with your key. You have the key, put it into the vault drawer and close it up. Because the problem is, what causes a lot of stress for people is we keep on what's called worry. We keep on chazering over the things. Oh, why did I do that? Why did I say this? Well, I should have done more for this person. I didn't do enough. Did this person really, do this because I didn't do that? Okay, you got to let go, because if you don't let go, you're just going to stress yourself out and bring yourself down. So this is an interesting kind of meditation. One time I did one where you would take the negative stuff and put it in a balloon and watch it go away. And actually I did this once with a group of us 9-year-olds. I said, put someone or something that's bothering you into a balloon that's lighter than air and watch it go away. And at the end of the meditation, this one boy was hysterically crying. So I went over to him and I said, what's wrong? And he said, I put my brother in the balloon. I don't know how to get him back. Okay, so anyway, we're going to try this. And then next week, I'm going to do a meditation with you for blessings for the new year, to be blessed by the Kohen Gadol, by the high priest. So everyone, do me a favor, put your feet flat on the floor. And we're going to take our hands and put them comfortably on the tops of our legs, our knees, with palms down. And we're now going to close our eyes. We're going to relax the muscles of our body from the top of our head all the way down to the tips of our toes. And this can be done in a very simple way by simply sending forth the mental command to relax. Because in truth, the most powerful part of our body is our Chachma and Bina, the higher spheres, wisdom and understanding. And so from the Chachma, from the wisdom, with our mind that is a part of the eternal mind of God, we begin to relax. So relax the muscles around the top of the head. Your eyes, just close them loosely. Relax the muscles of your jaw and open your mouth slightly. Relax the muscles now of your neck and just very easily, gently move to the left, pulling a little bit, and come center, to the right, lightly, moving back, gently, forward, stretching gently, and back to center. Relax the muscles of your shoulders, your arms, your hands, down to the tips of the fingers. Relax the muscles of your breathing, your lungs, your chest, and just breathe naturally. Let it just go. Let it be. Relax the muscles of your abdomen and the spine. Try as best as possible not to be resting on the back of the chair, but pull forward slightly. Relax the muscles of your hips, the legs, down to the feet, down to the tips of your toes. And if your toes are scrunched up in your shoes, unscrunch them, crunch them, and become aware of the bottom of your shoes, your feet to the shoes, to the floor, to the earth. This is your malchut. This is your grounding on this earth, this planet, and all existence. And we're now going to breathe in and out 3 times. And as you breathe in, imagine that you're taking in all the positive, loving, forgiving powers of the universe of God itself. And as you exhale, let go of any negative stuff, images, thoughts, and feelings. And so breathe in. Hold, breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. And now, in your mind's eye, almost like a television set, a screen going on, you find yourself walking into it. You now find yourself in a bank. It could be a bank you've been in, or it could be just one in your own mind. But you're now in the vault room. And there are many drawers in front of you. But you reach into your pocket, and you come out, and you have the key. If there is something within your mind, a heart right now, that is bothering you, it could be even a person or a thing that is kind of stressing you today, or maybe yesterday, and you want to put it inside, place it in a safe place. You can always go back to it, but you don't want that to overwhelm you as you now go into the new year. And so take the key and walk up to a drawer and unlock it. And these safe deposit boxes only need 1 key. And so open the drawer, and if something or someone is bothering you, place it in the drawer. And if it's something really big, use a big drawer. Close the door slowly and lock it, and feel yourself putting the key back in its pocket. This is the drawer that is there for you. You can always go back to it. Step away from the display, and you can, when you want to, go back, open the drawer, and begin to evaluate what's bothering you, and if it's someone that needs to, or something that needs correction, you can do it. You only can do one thing at a time. And now we're going to breathe in and out once again. We're going to do this 4 times, but as we exhale, we want to feel peace in our heart. And so we exhale with the word shalom. Breathe in. a sense of peacefulness of mind and heart. And know that what is stressful to you is now in a safe place. You can now confront the day with shalom balev, peace of mind and heart and soul. This is your blessing. Now, when you're ready to begin to move your fingers, you can open your eyes. Okay. And that feel. Well, it's quickly using an image, but you get the idea that you can always come up with this and work on it if you feel like you want to. But a lot of this, the way we live our lives has to do with what's in here, right? Well, I've met many people, I'm sure Rabbi has as well, I'm sure you have too. In my work, I've met many people. One person breaks their nail and think they're gonna die. I've met people who are dying and they face it with such great strength and faith.
You know what I found interesting?
Say goodbye to someone. Okay.
What I found interesting was what I thought was bothering me wasn't what was really bothering me. It was something entirely different when I opened the drawer.
Interesting.
I
Good.
put something in. It was different than I had imagined.
Excellent. Good. Well, that's great. It means you reached in and the stuff is boiling around with inside of us somewhere. It's there. You can't avoid it. And people, unfortunately, people try to avoid it, and that's where they get other situations. Yes, please.
I was so happy, happy for the place to put something that's bothering me. And that will be in my life for a few years because, it kind of comes and goes like a wave. So if I put it away, it helps.
Yeah. And of course, this is very quick, obviously, only like 5 minutes. So if you were to follow through with this on your own, you want to spend much more time in that vault area and just getting there. I just wanted to share that with you. And then next week, we'll do a blessing by the Kohen to give you peace for the new year. And so everyone have a lovely week. Hopefully we'll see you then. Shalom, everyone.
Thanks to those online as well. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
on
you.
our producer. Thank you, Rabbi.